Hey everyone, Emeka here, live from the village market. The vibe is just incredible today. Stay tuned for more.
There are men who return to their villages, not to give, but to take, not to honor, but to harvest. Emeka Dike was such a man, armed with a ring light, a selfie stick, and 1 million followers who had never once set foot on red African soil. He did not come home to pray. He did not come to bury grief or to feast with family. He came because the algorithm rewarded spectacle, and he had found that nothing got more views than laughing at the place that made him. The village of Ufuma sat between two hills, where the harmattan wind blew red dust across the footpaths in the dry season, and where the baobab tree at the center of the market had stood since before anyone's grandfather was born. It was the kind of place people left. The ambitious, the restless, the ones who heard music in the city and could no longer hear anything else. Emeka Dike had left at 19. He returned at 28, not as a prodigal son, but as a content creator. His YouTube channel, The Real Africa, had 1.3 million subscribers who watched him travel, mock, and laugh his way across the continent. He called it raw authenticity. The villagers would later call it something else entirely. He arrived on a Saturday, just as the women were returning from the stream. His white Toyota Prado kicked up dust clouds that settled on the Ankara wrappers. He rolled down the window, pointed his camera, and said nothing in greeting.
Guys, look at this genuine village life, unfiltered, like stepping back in time, right?
He laughed. His camera captured the laughter perfectly. His ring light made his teeth shine. The women looked at him. One of them, old Mama Ngozi, who had once carried Emeka on her back when his own mother was too ill to stand, turned away without a word. There are silences that speak louder than thunder. Hers was one of them. By Sunday morning, Emeka had filmed the open market, the mud-walled homes, the children fetching water, and the elderly men sleeping under the mango tree. He narrated each clip with a voice that made everything ancient seem backward, everything humble seemed embarrassing. He filmed the shrine of Allah, the earth goddess, which stood at the edge of the market square, its carved wooden face worn smooth by decades of rain and palm oil offerings. He circled it slowly, speaking into his camera with the casual irreverence of a man who believed respect was something you gave only to what you feared.
So this is what they pray to here. Can you believe it? My people, still in Stone Age.
He did not notice the silence that fell over the market when he said those words. He did not notice the old women pulling their grandchildren away from him. He did not notice the man sitting beneath the almond tree across the square, watching him with still, dark eyes. The man's name was Obiora. He was the village prophet, not in the way of churches or crowds or offering baskets. He was the kind of prophet the land makes, slow, rooted, sorting. His face was the color of deep clay, carved by years of sun and silence. He wore no shoes. He carried a carved staff of okpo wood that his own father had cut before Emeka's father was born. He watched Emeka the way a river watches a stone thrown into it, patient, absorbing, unchanged. The warning came that evening as Emeka sat on the veranda of his uncle's compound, reviewing footage and laughing at his own jokes. The sun was going down, painting the sky the color of fire and old kola nuts. Crickets had begun their evening hymn. Obiora appeared at the gate without announcement, the way old things appear suddenly and completely, as if they had always been there and you had only now learned to see.
Emeka,
son of Dike. Come, sit with me.
Emeka looked up from his scream. Something in the old man's voice was not a request. He set his camera down, not out of respect, but because he thought, briefly, that this could be interesting content. They sat together under the almond tree. The old man did not speak immediately. He let the silence breathe. When he finally opened his mouth, his voice was low and unhurried, like water finding its way through rock.
The tree does not mock the soil that holds its roots. You have come back to this place and taken from it its image, its face, its dignity, not even respect. The land is watching you, my son, and the land has memory.
With all due respect, Baba, it's just content. My audience doesn't understand these things. I'm showing them something real.
Real? You are showing them a lie dressed in truth's clothing. There is nothing more dangerous than that.
The old man rose without ceremony, tapped his staff once against the earth, and walked away into the gathering dark. Emeka watched him go, then picked up his camera and filmed the moment. He would title the clip, "Old Man Tries to Curse Me in My Village." Hilarious! It would get 200,000 views in 3 days. On the third night, something happened that Emeka's audience never saw, because for the first time since he had arrived, his camera was not rolling. He had gone to film the masquerade festival, Umanwu, the dance of the ancestral spirits, held every dry season at the edge of the forest. He went with his ring light and his microphone boom, already composing the thumbnail in his mind. Scary African ritual. I almost didn't make it out. But when the Umanwu emerged from the trees, that magnificent, terrifying, feathered and roaring thing, the ring light flickered and died. The camera screen went black. His phone, freshly charged, showed 0 battery. He stood in the dark as the drumming rose around him, alone in a way he had never been alone in his life. And then he felt it. Not fear, not exactly. Something older than fear. Something that lives in the blood, before language, before pride, before followers and algorithms and ring lights. He felt the weight of everything he had mocked pressing down on him like a hand on his chest. He felt seen, not by cameras, but by something that had watched his people long before cameras existed. He ran. He's not ashamed to admit it now, though he was ashamed then. He ran through the dark with his dead camera swinging at his hip, back to his uncle's compound, back to the kerosene lantern on the veranda, back to the world he understood. He sat there breathing hard for a long time. When he finally looked up, Ichi Obira was at the gate. The old man had not followed him. He was simply there, the way certainty is there.
The ancestors do not punish. They remind. What did they remind you of tonight?
Emeka said nothing. For the first time since he had arrived, he had nothing to say. He did not sleep that night. He lay on the narrow bed in his uncle's back room and stared at the ceiling and thought about his mother, who had died while he was chasing views in Accra. He thought about how he had posted a tribute video to her, 32 seconds long, beautifully edited, set to soft piano music, and received 800,000 likes. He had cried in that video, genuine tears. And then he had gone for drinks with his camera team to celebrate the algorithm's response. He thought about the look on Mama Ngozi's face when he had driven past her in his Prado. He had known her name once. He had known all their names. He thought about Ichiobiora's words. The tree does not mock the soil that holds its roots. Dawn came slowly, the way truth comes. First as a thin line on the horizon, then as something you cannot unsee. He got up before the compound stared, walked across the red dust yard, and went to find the old prophet. Ichie Obiora's home was a small compound at the edge of the village. Not poor, not rich, but planted in the earth with a kind of permanence that Emeka's rented apartment in Lagos would never know. Herbs grew in ordered rows along the fence. Chickens moved without haste. A clay pot steamed over a small fire. The old man was already awake, as if he had been waiting, which perhaps he had. Emeka sat across from him. He did not bring his camera. He left his phone in his pocket. He just sat, the way he had not sat in years, without recording, without performing, without thinking about the thumbnail.
I'm sorry, Baba. I don't know how to fix what I've done. You cannot unspill water, but you can go back to the stream. The question is, will you carry a vessel this time or a camera?
The silence between them was different this time. Not heavy, not accusing. It was the silence of two men deciding something together, though only one of them had words for what it was. Emeka nodded slowly. He reached into his pocket, not for his phone, but for the small carved wooden ring his mother had pressed into his hand the last time he had seen her alive. He had carried it for 6 years without understanding why. He placed it on the ground between them. It was not an offering. It was a beginning.
Emeka stayed in Ufuma for 3 more weeks. He did not post a single video. He helped rebuild a section of the Market Women's Cooperative that had crumbled in the last rains. He sat with the elders and listened to stories he had never bothered to hear before. Stories about where his grandfather got his name, about the tree at the market square, about the meaning of the Mmanwu that had frightened him so badly. He learned that the masquerade was not horror. It was memory made visible. The ancestors did not come back to haunt. They came back to teach. On the day he prepared to leave, Mama Ngozi came to his uncle's gate. She placed a small bundle in his hands, ogiri, smoked fish wrapped in leaves, the smell of childhood and home. She said nothing. She just looked at him, and this time she did not look away. He drove back to Lagos a quieter man. His comment section was full of questions. Where have you been? Are you okay? What happened? The algorithm had moved on to others. His engagement was down. 3 sponsors had messaged asking if he was still active. He sat in front of his camera for a long time before he pressed record. When he finally spoke, he did not smile his influencer smile. He did not adjust his ring light for maximum flattery. He just spoke, plain-faced, unretouched, the way his grandfather would have spoken around a fire.
I went home, and I discovered I had never actually been there before.
That video received fewer views than anything he had posted in 2 years. It was also the truest thing he had ever made. There is a kind of blindness that success breeds in young men. It makes them mistake visibility for wisdom, audience for community, and fame for belonging. Emeka Dike mistook mockery for honesty and performance for truth. But the land does not forget. Culture does not dissolve because a man laughs at it. Traditions are not weakened by ridicule. Only the one who ridicules is weakened, hollowed out from the inside, until the night comes when the cameras die, and he stands alone in the dark with nothing between him and what he truly is. The prophet Iche Obiora did not curse Emeka. He did not need to. He simply waited, because wisdom always outlasts arrogance. Always. What we inherit from our ancestors is not embarrassment. It is architecture. The invisible structure that holds people together across centuries, crisis, and change. When we mock it for entertainment, we do not destroy it. We only destroy our access to it. And without it, we are not modern. We are simply lost.